It's called River Runs Red. For 300 miles you can see the dust, edge of the sky all covered in rust. The cobalt blue of an endless sky, heart of the land is red and dry. The streetlights die when the highway starts, straight as a spear through the dry red heart. And it's a long, long way from the city and sea to the heart of the land on the ironbark tree. Oh, I drive my youth down to the stream. Is this the end of the station, the end of the dream? There used to be water here in this hard and cracked old bed, but now the river runs dry. River runs red. A jackaroo pilot turns his chopper west. When you're moving a mob, you don't manage much rest. The stock whips crack and the sandflies sting. Gotta move these crackers on down to the springs. Oh, I drive my youth down to the stream. Is this the end of the station, the end of the dream? There used to be water here in this hard and cracked old bed, but now the river runs dry. River runs red. Won't get you too far when you're staring down a ribbon of hot black tar. Heat waves rising from the sun-baked flame, shifting 16 gears and a 90-ton train. Oh, I drive my youth down to the street. Is this the end of the station, the end of the dream? There used to be water here in this hard and cracked old bed. Now the river runs dry. The river runs red. The river runs red. Thank you very much.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name's Tim. I'm here with the Australian Horizons Foundation, Beef It Up Australia and Let's Get Rural. And the gentleman that just provided your light entertainment to start off the evening, Huck Richards. Now, Huck is one of our ambassadors for Beef It Up Australia and the Australian Horizons Foundation. And we're here tonight to give everybody in Menindee and the areas a bloody good night of fun, laughter and music. Now, standing beside me is a young fella that some of you will probably know. A lot of you probably won't know, but I'll introduce him anyway. He's going to have to come close, but no cuddling. It doesn't go very far. Lloyd Polkinghorn. How are you, Lloyd?
There you go, Lloyd.
I understand that you've done something that a lot of people would think would be nuts, but you got up and you got off your backside and you've done something, you trained hard for it, you drank hard for it, and you had something built so you could drink hard while you were doing it. What did you do?
Yeah, I actually went on a 303 kilometre walk from Kundrook Barram, which is on the Murray River between Echuca and Swan Hill, and walked up to Hume Dam to raise awareness of what was happening within our regions under the government, what they're doing with the water policy.
So I was just trying to make some room so we can get some more cord out here for this. No, 303k. Now I know it was a struggle, and I know your lovely wife Lauren, she had a hard time getting that one pair of boots off your feet and one pair of socks that were growing through the hairs on your feet. So, and at the end of your walk, the lady in charge of all this, Anita Donlan, she was going to see if she could get those pair of boots and mount them for you on a board in a staggering of walking and present it to you, but you won't part with the boots.
No, mate, I love those boots. Those boots have travelled me, I think I've done about 1,500 k's in them, and they're still pretty comfy. They've got lots of fond memories, so I still go out in the forest and walk in them. So, do you want me to tell you a bit about my backstory? Righto. So, I was a multi-generational irrigation farmer in our region. So, our region is what is termed the natural constraints of the Murray system. So before river regulation, when the floods had come down out of the mountains, they'd actually hit something called the Barmer Choke, and they'd spread across the land on the New South Wales and Victorian side. And so for thousands of years people have utilised those flows from our traditional owners and the amazing stuff that went in. We've got a poleaxe swamp near us, and there was aquaculture and all sorts of wonderful things. And then, as European settlers did their thing, we sort of worked to where the water flowed. Where our system is a gravity-fed system, so the water comes down the Murray, enters a channel system. It's actually metered twice. The irrigation company gets metered, and then they meter us when we take the water. But anyway, the government came in, and in our region, the New South Wales side anyway, they took 50% of the water out of the region, and that sort of created about a 75% job loss, and it equates to, well, about $1.5 billion annually out of our economy. The remaining 50% of the water, the government have been so wasteful in using it and also trying to put it out into the Southern Ocean, they've actually reduced the reliability of the remaining 50%. So we're losing about $1.5 billion annually just in our New South Wales side. Righto. Sorry. Yeah, now you'll have to listen to me. Yeah, so we've had a huge economic loss. We've had a huge social impact. So suicide rates within our region's really high. We've lost footy clubs, schools have sort of lost 50% of their kids, and we're losing also our ecosystems and all our culturally significant things to traditional owners, but also to what we've come to know for the last sort of 150 years. And they're actually destroying our Murray. We've actually lost 5 to 7 metres of the Murray bank at Kundrook in front of my house, so that's in the last 8 years. River erosion is a normal part, but the way the government are running the river, they're actually running it harder and faster. So they're destroying platypus habitats and kingfisher habitats and all sorts of things. The cod holes are all filling up. They've basically wiped out the crayfish within our region. Anyway, this is all under the government's plan to save the environment or save the Murray or whatever they claim to do, but they're actually destroying not only the prosperity of the people, but the land we love and the communities that support it.
Picking up
Yeah, so
Take a long time.
it will take a long time, but it will take everyone working together for a better Australia for everyone. And the government don't have that anywhere near their plan. And so I did 300k walk to go and interview people and try to help raise awareness for the mums and dads and the family farmers and community members who actually care for our environment and care for our people and want to see a better Australia for everyone.
How long would it take to walk to Darwin?
Well, I don't know, that'd take a while and I'm not very fit. I've dropped off the training, so it'll take me a while. But we did do a bus trip out here a few months ago and we came to Wilcannia and we cruised around and interviewed some people, and I was just horrified. I was horrified at the life expectancy, I was horrified at what had happened to the ecosystems and the people and the economies out here as well. And this stuff's happening right across the basin. They all try to pitch us against each other, but I think at the core we're all pretty good people, and we all need to stick together, and we all need to share our knowledge and our wisdom in our region. The wisdom of the elders and the people within our communities been completely ignored. They've been treated with contempt, and I often say we actually live in a basically tyranny now, where our government is eroding and taking the water away, making it a tradable commodity. Water trading is $2 billion now annually. Don't need an ABN to trade water. Politicians don't have to declare that they own it when they're actually creating policy around it. We had a local dairy farmer came to me and he had to buy water just to grow a bit of feed for his stock, and the seller of the water was the New York Police Department superannuation fund. That is just the most horrendous thing to do with water, which is intrinsically linked to our land. And so in our region, in our country, they've dried out the land, and where I grew up is part of the floodplain, so we have about 4 or 5 creeks and a river going through it, and we grew up playing with snakes and frogs and goannas and all sorts of things, and now the country's just dry. It's just deathly silent, and it's just really sad. So we decided to do something. So I actually run a local newspaper. It's an independent paper, so I'm always in the bad books with the MDBA and all these sorts, because I don't work for them, I don't get paid for them, and I'm happy to speak up and have a voice for our communities. So I've done the walk, and we raised a bit of money, and we're putting on 4 shows. And after coming to Menindee, I just thought Menindee could do with a show, and so we've come along just to say good day, share the love, and actually build some networks. So it is going to come back. It's got to be driven from the people to actually fix this problem. All this top-down rubbish is just destroying it for all of us.
Lloyd,
It is indeed. Now, I know a couple of things that happened before you even went on your walk, and a few things that happened while you're on your walk. Now, one of the things a lot of people don't know, this gentleman beside me, not only for doing the 303k walk to raise awareness of the water situation in the Murray-Darling Basin system, which covers most of Australia and affects all of Australia, but this fella had done it under pain and suffering of his own. And his lovely wife Lauren and their 2 daughters followed behind Lloyd, towing a trailer with a homemade bar on the trailer at 4 kilometres an hour, sometimes in 40-degree heat with no aircon, sometimes thundering down rain with no heater in the car. But on top of that, this young fella standing beside me has got to be a legend in anybody's eyes, no matter what anybody says. Because, hang on a second, I will tell you why. This fella beside me, Lloyd Polkinghorn, not only did he do the 303-kilometre walk, but he'd done it with an acquired brain injury. He had his good days, he had his bad days. He had days he thought of giving up, and he had days when he wanted to walk further than 20k per day that he was doing. This man beside me, not only a legend, bloody top bloke, but a hero. On your Lloyd.
I don't know whether I go that far, but I'm just an ordinary person. Yeah, well, I consider myself just an ordinary person, and I think everyone here has the potential for greatness. So 2013, I did have a brain injury. I was working on the farm, and I had a pretty new shotgun, and anyway, it exploded, and it damaged my frontal lobe, damaged my pituitary and thyroid, and I ended up sort of spending about 4 years in bed. I started leaking brain fluid, and lots of stuff went on. I developed post-traumatic stress and anxiety and depression, and it was a really hard time. The muscles in my ears stopped working. I couldn't regulate noise, so I heard everything flat out. And having two small kids at the time, I had to get around in earmuffs and just basically lived in a dark room. I was getting these constant migraines. They got to a stage where they're, for migraines, when they're extreme, they actually inject Botox into your head. So I was getting 36 injections across my head and down my neck. It sort of numbs all your pain centres and tries to make things a bit more livable. So anyway, for me, I'd lost everything I sort of thought I was. I thought I was always going to be home on the farm. I spent a lot of time on the farm with Grandpa and Dad and my uncle, and it was sort of a real part of my soul. It actually took me about 4 or 5 years to sort of get over losing the farm or moving off the farm. Because it got to a stage where the doctor said if you got any chance of recovery, you're actually going to de-stress and move into town and take things easy. Anyway, it was a long journey because there was heaps of doctors who just said, oh no, you're depressed, you're just not having a go. And anyway, I found that really hard because I was already doubting myself. I was like, come on, you must be bloody weak or something, you can't get up and get going. Anyway, in 12 months I gained 50 kilos. My bloody, thyroid not working, they're on steroids for my brain swelling, and anyway, so I ballooned out. Life was going really rough. I found it really tough. And so the first thing that kept me going was actually acknowledging the kids, and I had to reassess my priorities in life and actually what mattered to me, because everything else had sort of gone by the wayside. Anyway, it's given me a greater appreciation of people, because people treated me different when I gained 50 kilos. Still the same bloke, still raised the same, still treated everyone else the same, but they treated me differently. And anyway, I sort of started to realise that most of us are like icebergs. 90% of us is below the water, 10% above. You don't know what someone else is going through, and for 25 million people, we're all 25 million individuals. But I think we're all souls, we're all unique. So I talk in souls because that takes away colour or wealth or whatever, sexual orientation, because I think a person is intrinsically valuable as they are. We all hold different values, but the value of the person or the worth of the person is the same. So for me, I dabbled in a bit of philosophy, I dabbled in all sorts of things, and weird and wonderful things. I was raised in a pretty conventional Christian family. But anyway, I've gone through a whole range and gamut of things. But whatever you're going through, Winston Churchill once said that if you're going through hell, just keep going. It's finding that little bit to keep going. On the walk, when stuff got hard, you looked to one reflected to the next. You had to break it down. I once learned a saying that said, how do you eat an elephant? Which is one bite at a time. So sometimes big things look impossible, they look daunting. And when I was 50 kilos overweight and I'd lost my farm and it was really tough on my wife too. She had to do everything. I was basically incapacitated. Kids were starting school. So anyway, I really found a new appreciation for life, and the things that mattered to me was passing on a better future for my kids and for all Australians. It's something that my grandfather and father tried to instill in me, and it didn't really click until I had everything taken away that I thought sort of mattered. But anyway, now I've got a new purpose. I can tick along. I can be a pain in the butt to all these people who think they're saving stuff when they're really destroying it. And anyway, so one of the things I will leave you with is an Eastern philosophy thing. They actually talk about life being a storm, because that's what life is. You can't control it, it's coming whether you like it or not. We can try to do our best, but if it's a thunderstorm coming across the paddock, you've just got to sit there. But our choice is whether we be the tree fighting the storm or the grass getting blown around. So in our region, I used to imagine the big gum trees, they'd stand up and try and fight this storm, and the limbs would get snapped off and the trees would get shredded. You'd come out in the morning and there's bloody debris everywhere. And you'd look at the grass, it's perfectly fine. It went through the same bloody storm, but you wouldn't know it. And so for me, my choice is trying to be the grass. Sometimes it doesn't work. Sometimes I get upset at things and try to fight them, but you know, we have a choice. Our power is in our choice. And I think if we're kind to each other and we stick together and try to work for the greater good, we can have a better Australia for everyone.
Well said, Lloyd, and I know everybody here, all from the publicans and the people that work around here, live here, come and visit here, will all agree with you on all those philosophies.
Which road did we drive down? Poon Carey. What's going on with that road? Someone? 270 k's down a dirt track in a Nissan Pulsar that I hired from Hertz Rent-A-Car in Mildura. The first thing the guy said to me was, "You're not going on any unsealed roads, are you?" And I'm like, "No, why the hell would I do that?" Lo and behold, that's the way to get to Menindee, isn't it? But here's my mate JD, and without him it sounds rubbish. So give it up for JD. Big thanks to all the performers tonight and the organisers. And of course, our favourite publican over here. Take a bow, young lady. Last but not least, thank you all for coming down, supporting a good cause in the 1,000 paddocks and Beef It Up Australia. My work here is done. Thank you very much for having me. I'm going to go back to the city for a bit and decompress. Thank you very much. Let's finish this song, all right, JD? So you're moving in slowly, caught a gleam in your eye. My mom says, teach kids and wondering why. You won't be satisfied till you see the meaning of the minds inside of me. Yeah, it's creeping up slowly. She's taking me over. It's turning me on. With every breath that I take, I roll up my dreams and blow them away. It's creeping up slowly. She's taking me over. It's turning me on. With every breath that I take, I roll up my dreams and blow them away. Thank you very much.
Ladies and gentlemen, give it up for Jason Singh and JD. Give it up for the comedian Flemmo. Give it up for the entertainment early with Huck. Well, ladies and gentlemen, the night's not just about fun and laughter and everything else and a good night. It's also about raising awareness for mental health. Mental health in the rural sector, in the small country towns, and it doesn't matter whether you're black or white, Australian, Asian, Indigenous, or a newcomer to the country. Mental health affects everybody. It affects kids, it affects adults, it affects brothers and sisters, uncles and aunties, mums and dads. It affects everybody. Mental health is a silent killer. You want to know what mental health looks like? This is it. This is what mental health looks like. Can anybody tell? Can anybody tell who's got mental health problems and who don't? No, you can't. I don't know everybody's story of every town we've been to put on nights like this, and trivia nights and comedy nights and music nights, but everybody has a mental health story to tell. I've heard of the plight of the Menindee committee, community, township people, and everybody in the area of Menindee. That's why we're here. We're here to give everybody a good night out. Doesn't matter who you are. The biggest future that anybody in any community, any town, any city has got is that young fella right there. He's everybody's future. Your kids is your future. Their kids, the next generation. To give them the best future that they've ever got, they want you to be there to teach them, to lead them, to show them. Mental health is not to be ashamed of. How do I know? I have it. I've had it since I was 10 years old. I'm now nearly 54. I have minimum 13 failed attempts at suicide. Last one was October, just gone. I'm still here. On the banner over there, we are strong, we are survivors, we will win. That's me. Get out there, support your mates, doesn't matter who it is, doesn't matter what colour, what race, what religion. It doesn't make any difference. A life is a life. Whether you're Indigenous, Australian, Asian, doesn't matter. You get out there, support your mates. The best thing you could ever do, best thing you could ever do for a mate is get there, have a beer, a coffee, a cordial, a water, soft drink. Same here for your mate, leave it at that. They'll talk to you eventually. You pressure them to talk, you're doing more harm than good. You're likely to go out and do something stupid. Who wants that? Nobody does. Everybody wants their mum, their dad, their brother, their sister, their mates, their kids. Everybody wants them to see another sunrise, another day, another moonrise. Get out there, support your mates, support your community for Christ's sake. Communities like Menindee, Moolameen, Denny, Waganya. Doesn't matter if you've heard of these places or not. These places are communities that need to survive. They need their mates. They need the help of each other to get through every day, to survive, to wake up every day, to make sure that your mate is okay, your husband, your wife. One of the best places you go and have a talk to have a coffee is your publican, your local hotel. Why? The best person to give you advice. G'day mate, I'm here for you, you want to talk? Anytime you want. Doesn't matter who you are. How do I know about all this stuff? How do I know about that saying on the wall? Because that's me. My name is Timothy May. I'm a suicide survivor, a mental health survivor, and I still suffer. Look after your mates, look after your family, be there for your kids.